relationships again.
So, this is going to be the first part of that three-part I was talking about in the last video, which was relationships. We're going to be talking about, relationships, well, not relationships specifically in this video, but attractiveness and social media presence in relationships. Then we're going to talk about dynamics, and then the last one should just be relationships, which should be easily buffed out. But before we start this video, I want to say something completely on record and quite literally fully that is a rule I think everybody should abide by. I'll only date somebody if I like them, is what I meant. See, a lot of people date off attraction and don't really get to know anybody, right? Like, oh, what if she's attractive, but what if she, kicks dogs or something? She hates dogs or hates cats, hates animals, right? I'm an animal lover. I have a cat right here. Okay, he's ignoring me, but I love animals, right? A lot of people can say that. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like animals. That's fine, but people hate animals too, right? The problem is people date just straight up off attraction. They don't get to know anybody. It's not something where it's like, oh, hey, how are you? Would you like to go out? Or we've known each other for how long, and I want to take you out, right? People skip going out and just immediately start dating. And I feel like that's more prevalent in high school more than anything, specifically because of one person I know. We went to high school together. I'm gonna send you this video when it uploads, right? But this person started dating this girl in about, I think it was 9th grade. He was in 9th grade, I was in 10th. When we were coming back from the pandemic, started dating her 3 days after meeting her. Yikes. But along with that, it came with a bunch of problems. Like, A, they were constantly fighting or arguing. B, he got into just a lot of terrible situations because he was dating her and he didn't know enough about her to be secure with her, and they broke up maybe a month later. It was the corniest thing to witness. Okay, I'm not exaggerating. I would walk with them and he has his hand in his pocket with her hand in his pocket, right? And they're holding hands and it just looked corny. I'm trying so hard not to laugh right now. But it was the corniest thing I had ever seen. And keep in mind, I'm fresh off. We're fresh off the pandemic. This is my first year back in 10th grade, right? I remember it was awkward, right? The reason I'm noting this down is because a lot of people just date off attraction. You don't get to know someone. And then eventually when, you're like, oh, she's a terrible person. I wish I had never dated her. Bro, you started going out with her before you even really met her. Now, right, imagine he had just got to know her before he started dating her, right? 3 days is a crazy wait time. We were teenagers, right? What do teenagers want to do, especially when they just got out of being isolated for a year? And I bring this to the pandemic, right? Specifically because I was talking to my friend Nico. Again, Nico, right? The GOAT, right? The GOAT Nico. Put his picture right here, right? But we were talking about relationships and we were talking about the male loneliness epidemic. What I said was that it's kind of not really male loneliness, more or less, or it is, right? But it's not just specifically that. What I called it was a social recession. See, because of the pandemic, a lot of people growing up, getting out of middle school, going into high school, didn't really build those communication skills, especially when those kids were in 4th and 5th grade. It's kind of that whole 2 years of being on lockdown, or the year itself being on lockdown and not going to school, kind of recessed everybody's social ability. I say this because even now I kind of struggle just going up to people and just striking a conversation. The other day when we were having this conversation, we did strike up a conversation with a few other people doing a couple other activities, right? But that's because we were in the same vicinity. There was no one around, and we were just like, hey, what are you guys up to? And even then, we were just both quiet the entire time. So when I call it a social recession, I mean the ideals and the moving of social norms have kind of recessed backwards. It isn't just male loneliness. And a lot of people haven't really gotten past, or haven't moved forward with their social skills. You go up to anybody, and I'll tell you right now, I have stuttered like crazy talking to people. There was this girl at the gym, right? Specifically, I remember going up to the front counter when they had one, And I was like, I just started stuttering like crazy. I've never been more embarrassed. I've never wanted to leave a place faster in my life. But I'm working on that. See, the thing is, a lot of people aren't working on these skills, aren't working on talking to people, aren't working on moving forward with their speech and talking to people. The reason I'm super awkward talking to a camera, all right? I'm ranting to a camera, right? The reason I'm doing it is because quite literally it's kind of just helping me talk and put my confidence up a little more, right? It's like therapy, but I'm just talking to a camera. It's a little easier for me to talk to a camera than it is to a person for longer than 10 minutes, right? But the thing is we were talking about, social recession, male loneliness epidemic, and I was talking about specifically online's effects on it and relationships. A lot of guys are avoiding being in relationships because of the stuff they see online, right? Women asking for 6'3", six-figure jobs, and 6 cars. We'll call it the unholy trinity of sixes, right? What I said was that it's not hard, or what I said in the last video was relationships aren't hard. It's just all that external stuff. We're talking about all that external stuff right now. And specifically, I noted 2 reasons that a lot of people just aren't working on their social skills. One is because we're going to talk about it right now, is the things they see online, and 2, the lack of wanting to move on with their social skills. But we're going to talk about being online first. I haven't seen it as frequently as I was seeing it before, but a lot of the videos or a lot of media people are consuming is talking to women. Like the Meta Glasses videos where guys are walking up to women and just talking to them, being like, hey, like picking up girls with, the Meta Glasses, right? Now, the thing is with that is it's not fine. Obviously, you're filming people without their consent. But then again, laws or whatever. Regardless, right? The problem with these videos is that it gives dopamine, but in probably the worst way possible, right? If I'm watching my friend go up to a chick, right, and be like, hey, like, can I get your number, blah, 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 right, and he gets it, I am hyped for him. But if he's wearing Meta Glasses and he's posting it online for a bunch of other dudes who don't have any social skills, who don't want to go out to talk to women, who don't want to put the effort into kind of putting the effort into themselves to help better themselves and move forward to do that, they kind of get this this dopamine hit. But it's kind of more like, especially because the Meta Glasses are right here, they're eye level, right? It doesn't matter. It gives a false sense of that's me, I was talking about it specifically in the way of put yourself in the perspective of a guy who just has no social skills. He's home all day, doesn't talk to anybody, no friends, nothing. Just a straight chud, technically, right? A guy who just sits at home all day, does nothing. Let's just say he has a job, but he doesn't talk to anybody, right? The problem with the content itself is that because it's eye length, because it's technically so personal and intimate, right? It's like I'm the one talking to the girl, but it's a whole. I'm watching a video of a guy talk to a girl, but it feels like it's me, right? The problem with that is a lot of guys would get a dopamine hit off that, watch all these videos and be like, whatever, somebody's getting it. And that was my argument about it. It's easier to watch somebody do something than actually going out to do it, right? And I can say this for a plethora of things. Like, for years, there's been videos of picking girls up on the sidewalk, catcalling women, all this other stuff. And a lot of people just get comfortable with just, and I'll say this right now. There is nobody perfect for anybody, right? I'll say this completely right now. This false lie that, bruh, the perfect one will come. No, there is no perfect one. There is no perfect one. This is the truth. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. The truth is there's nobody perfect for you. And what I mean by that isn't that you're never going to find love. It's just it'll be so hard for you to find somebody that meets your specifics, your wants, whatever, right? And even then, that's if they like you. That's if you agree on the same thing. That's if you do the same things. That's if you want the same things. I'm not telling you to settle. All right, I'm not telling you to settle. If you love somebody, you care for somebody, and you want that person, you want to date that person and go out with that person, by all means do so. But don't expect the perfect person to just walk into your life, because a lot of what happens is the perfect person will walk into your life at the wrong time, right? And what I mean by that is your ideal person may walk in tomorrow, might walk into your life tomorrow, and think about it. Have you worked on yourself? Have you done anything to just remotely move yourself forward? No. Or maybe you have, but it's just not where you want it to be, right? Obviously. And so when I was talking about the male loneliness epidemic and specifically these videos, what I was saying is it gives a false sense of security, because it's kind of just tricking you into thinking, yeah, that's me. I'm not against these videos, okay? You want to watch these videos to kind of just like, what should I say? Fine, go for it. My issue with the videos are specifically the people that watch them and don't want to better themselves to move forward in relationships. Also, along with that, which is the second part of this video, is people just aren't really willing to put the work in to benefit themselves or better themselves in general. It's a lot easier to kind of just rot away and just move on as if nothing's wrong when everything is kind of crumbling. It's so easy to run away when the tower is falling. So when you're talking about dating, you're talking about men talking to women, you're talking about male loneliness in general, a lot of guys just would rather wait for somebody to come in to help them or come in to move them forward instead of going and picking up the pace of themselves. It's so easy to kind of sit there, lay back, and just let whatever happen. It's just so easy to run away. And a lot of the problems with that is a lot of these guys are just running from their problems. A lot of these guys don't, wake up with the motivation to do anything or even the discipline to get up, right? Imagine waking up every day just to scroll on your phone for 2 hours. No willingness to get up. Right now, there is some guy, and I don't want to offend anybody. There's some guy right now that might be watching this video, might not be. You might even know this guy. He gets up every morning, goes on his phone for 2-3 hours, gets up, says, and you'll hang out with him, and at the end of the day, he'll be like, bruh, these women ain't going for me. There's something wrong. And do you not see the problem with that? They haven't tried to better themselves. They haven't tried to move forward. They themselves lack the discipline, the motivation, and the willingness or respect for themselves to genuinely move forward. So the blame for this doesn't really fall on anybody but the people themselves. If you're constantly watching these videos just for a dopamine hit, it doesn't really mean anything. Now, actually, I was going to talk about women and, their side of, this, because they don't have a loneliness epidemic, more or less, right? But what I was going to say is performative males, right? There's a creator out there, and I don't really know his name. I'll try to find his TikTok or his Instagram, right? But there's this video of him giving his girlfriend or just this woman money for her things, like her nails or shoes, whatever. And I was genuinely thinking, I would hate to be in that relationship, all right? And obviously, right, I've already made my stance on relationships and gift giving and, that stuff clear. Affection, all of that was clear in my last video. But when you look at things like that and you see that, oh, damn, he's giving his girl mad money, right? A lot of guys would sit there and be like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that, right? But there's a lot of women that would come to expect that. And specifically, I think it was Amar Singh, I think that's what his name is. Or if I mess up, I'm very sorry. But I'll put his photo and his wife, right? Or what I was trying to interpret was that she kind of wears the pants in the relationship, and he's kind of the guy that has to keep them up, right? And what I mean by that is that he is constantly kind of filtering himself when he's talking about her, right? And what triggered me specifically was this clip where she says, his money is our money, and my money is my money. Right? I think that's how it went, right? And the problem with that as well is a lot of women will see that and be like, oh, well, that's how it should be, right? No, I don't believe in, sharing. If I'm sharing, you're sharing as well, straight up, all right? Simply put, no ifs, ands, or buts. The reason I'm saying that is because quite literally, it's just a power dynamic, all right? assuming I get mad, assuming I'm in that relationship where, your money is our money and my money's mine, I'm just not going to give you access to my money, right? Or our money, right? There's no point. I wouldn't date you, right? Simply put, a lot of men wouldn't date a woman like that, right? See, my ideal would be we have our separate bank accounts and we have one joint, right? Because we have, that joint account is for rent or whatever. It's for rent, it's for necessities, it's for whatever. And whatever's outside of that, do with whatever. It's not hard, right? But a lot of men and a lot of women don't want to commit to a joint bank account. Accountability for either side isn't really there. Or a lot of women would rather spend their boyfriend's money, their husband's money, than use their own money, because quite literally they just don't want to. They want to have it. They want to have extra left over, right? Which is bad. If you think you need to take money from your significant other just so you have extra, you are either bad at your finances or you are extremely selfish, and there's nothing around it. So when a woman is like, yeah, that's our money and then I have my own, no, you're just selfish, or you're really bad with money and selfish. Or if I'm giving you money to do your nails, I'm just like, hey, like, it's Friday, right? Here's some money for your nails. Don't expect it every Friday. It's stupid to expect it every Friday. Expectations in relationships are quite literally the last thing that anybody talks about, especially when they start dating anybody. When I start dating a woman, right? I'm laying out very specific rules because I don't want to sit there and one day argue over something stupid or go into a break, which means a breakup for me, right? I don't want to have to, I guess, filter what I would want out of the relationship or filter how I would want the relationship to go, and then kind of suffer that fact. So if I start dating a woman, right? Or if I start dating a woman and we're talking, and the first thing I'm going to do is set ground rules. Like, hey, I don't want you to do this, or hey, I don't like this, or hey, I would just prefer you not do this. It's not controlling to set boundaries, right? Boundaries, over the past 10 years, boundaries have been set or demonized, right? They have been demonized like crazy, along with marriage, which I'll get into the next video. But marriage, boundaries, and just in general communication have been demonized, because then you're controlling, then you're this, then you're that. And specifically, I'll say this right now: if a guy says, oh, my girl doesn't want me to go, so I'm not going, right? Whatever. If a girl says to her friends, my boyfriend doesn't want me to go, right? What do you think happens? It's a crazy double standard, but guess what? It happens. I have a friend right now, and I'll send him this video too, right? I have a friend right now. If his girlfriend doesn't want him to do something, he just won't do it. Or last time he didn't do it. Like we were hanging out, we were like, yo, pull up, right? His girlfriend said no. So he didn't. And a lot of the problems, I think, especially with social media and in relationships, is that it's so easy to be performative. It's so easy to say, oh, well, I love my girlfriend this much. It's so easy to do that. There's no one out there being, in a sense, traditionally romantic. There's no one out there giving romance a chance. Chivalry isn't dead, but it's just demonized now. A lot of women, being chivalrous to a woman in the big 26 is quite literally the hardest thing ever. Because then a lot of women are just like, oh, well, I don't need that. You don't need to get up off your seat. And it's just like, hey, like, I'm just, like, if you need to sit. I've been sitting for the past 30 minutes. I'm fine. I can stand. I gotta stretch anyway.